Ilia Malinin stepped onto the ice at the Milano Arena on the night of Friday, February 13, 2026, carrying the weight of enormous expectation. The crowd's energy wasn't that of a typical competition, it was electric, almost reverent, as if they were witnessing the coronation of a king rather than a sporting event. At just 21 years old, Malinin had already earned the nickname Quad God, a testament to his extraordinary athleticism and daring on the ice. Over the past 2 years, he had completely redefined what was physically possible in figure skating, landing jump after jump that seemed to defy gravity and human limits, securing 14 consecutive major titles along the way. Coming into the night's performance, he held a comfortable 5-point lead after the short program, leaving him with little more than the expectation of a steady, controlled routine to claim the individual gold, adding it to the team gold he had captured only days earlier. Yet as he glided through the beginning of his 4-minute routine, the tension in the arena was palpable. Every eye was fixed on him, every heartbeat synchronized with his movements, every spectator ready to erupt in applause at the slightest sign of brilliance. And then, in an instant that seemed suspended in time, the impossible happened. By the routine's conclusion, the arena was silent, the kind of silence that felt heavy, suffocating, almost sacred. The world had not come to witness a masterclass of technical supremacy. As everyone had anticipated, they had come to witness a tragedy unfold, raw and real, in front of millions of stunned viewers. In that moment, the legend of Ilia Malinin was not defined by his victories, but by the heartbreak that left everyone breathless, questioning how such greatness could falter at the very pinnacle of achievement. Ilia Malinin did not simply lose the gold. He suffered a catastrophic collapse, both technical and emotional, that sent him tumbling from first place to an astonishing 8th-place finish. His free skate score of 156.33, more than 80 points below his personal best, left him languishing in 15th place for the segment, a staggering fall for a skater who had dominated the sport for years. As the final notes of his music faded into the rafters, there was no triumphant shout, no defiant pose that had become his trademark. Instead, Malinin buried his face in his hands, shaking his head in disbelief, a haunting image of vulnerability that contrasted sharply with the mythic aura he had cultivated. What unfolded that night was arguably the most shocking upset in modern Olympic figure skating history. On a night when the stars seemed to align for him to ascend to legend, Malinin reminded the world that even the most extraordinary athletes are, after all, human. To fully grasp the magnitude of his fall, one must understand the sheer, terrifying ambition of his routine. Malinin was not merely aiming to win, he intended to execute the most difficult program ever attempted in Olympic history. His layout included 7 quadruple jumps, anchored by the signature move that only he could land, the quadruple axel. Traditionally, he had relied on a sort of mathematical buffer. The enormous base value of his jumps allowed him to win competitions even with minor errors, a calculated strategy that let him stumble without surrendering victory to rivals executing cleaner but less difficult programs. Yet there is a dark side to such technical density, a razor-thin margin for error that, on this night, revealed itself with merciless clarity. When a routine is pushed to the absolute limits of human biology, there is no margin for error. One misstep, and the momentum does not simply stall, it can reverse entirely. Coming into the free skate, Malinin appeared indestructible. He had spent the week landing clean quad axels in practice at the United States team's training base in Bergamo, projecting the aura of the untouchable Quad God. But that nickname carries a heavy burden. It implies invincibility, the ability to shrug off Olympic nerves that have unseated legends like Michel Kwan and Yuzuru Hanyu. In Milan, the math finally failed. The crushing pressure of being the undefeated favorite weighed on him like a physical force, slowing his rotations and clouding his timing. For the first time, the buffer that had carried him through countless competitions was no longer enough. The nightmare began exactly 13 seconds into the program. Malinin opened with a massive quadruple flip, landing cleanly to the roar of the crowd, who believed they were witnessing perfection. Then came the quadruple axel, his signature jump, the 4.5 rotation marvel that had defined his career. But as he launched, something was off. His axis tilted. In a split-second decision to prevent a catastrophic crash, he popped the jump, reducing it to a single axel. In that instant, the arena's energy shifted, and a stunned hush fell over the 10,000 spectators. Normally, Malinin's mental fortitude would allow him to recover from such a mistake, but tonight was different. He looked rattled, doubling a planned quad loop and then suffering his first hard fall, a jarring, sliding crash that echoed through the ice and the hearts of everyone watching. Malinin's struggles continued with his signature quadruple Lutz, a jump that usually seemed effortless, but now he looked as if he were skating through sand. By the time he reached his quad salchow in the second half of the program, the quad god was in free fall. He hit the ice a second time, his face contorted in pain and frustration. At that point, he was no longer competing for a medal. He was simply trying to finish the program. According to NBC's technical analysts, Malinin lost nearly 72 points due to jumping mistakes alone. His total score of 264.49 was a haunting shadow of the 300-plus scores he was known for, leaving commentators like Tara Lipinski and Johnny Weir in stunned, near-tearful silence. Yet the most heartbreaking moment didn't occur on the ice, it happened moments later in the kiss and cry and the mixed zone. "I blew it," Malinin admitted to Andrea Joyce of NBC, his voice trembling. "That's honestly the first thing that came to my mind. I can't process what happened." For the first time, the public witnessed the mental toll of the quad god persona. Malinin spoke candidly about the crushing pressure of being the gold medal favorite, the flood of memories and thoughts that raced through his mind during the opening pose, the fear of failure, the weight of the American flag, and the suffocating expectation of invincibility. Malinin also reflected on his own experience, or perhaps his lack of it. He admitted he may have been too confident, assuming that the free skate would simply go smoothly because he had put in the work. He alluded to the lingering shadow of 2022, when he had been famously left off the Beijing Olympic team despite a second-place finish at the U.S. Championships. Today, he acknowledged that his lack of Olympic experience may have been his undoing. He simply did not know how to navigate the suffocating, unique atmosphere of an Olympic final. While his rivals had already endured the crucible of Beijing, Ilia was a rookie at the very biggest moment of his life. He was not a machine, he was a 21-year-old who had never before felt the entire world watching him like this. As the world mourned Malinin's collapse, history was quietly being made on the other side of the podium. Mail Shidurov, a 21-year-old from Kazakhstan, delivered the performance of a lifetime. Entering the free skate in 5th place, he had been widely considered only an outside contender for a bronze medal at best. Yet as the favorites Malinin, Kagayama, and Adam Sia Himfa stumbled and faltered, Shidurov seized the moment with perfect precision. As the favorites struggled under the immense pressure, Shidurov remained ice-cold, executing 5 quadruple jumps and achieving a personal best technical score of 114.68. He performed to the high-energy diva dance from the Fifth Element, electrifying the Italian crowd with every movement. When he finished, he fell to the ice in pure ecstasy, yet even then, he didn't fully believe he had won gold. Sitting in the leader's chair, he watched as one by one, the legends of the sport faltered. When Malinin's final score flashed, placing the American in 8th, Shidurov realized he had claimed the Olympic championship. It was Kazakhstan's first ever figure skating gold, a historic milestone continuing the legacy of the late Denis Ten. The podium shocked everyone. Shidurov took gold, Japan's Yuma Kagayama earned a resilient but flawed silver, and Shuneto claimed bronze. In the locker room, Malinin immediately congratulated Shidurov, expressing pride and grace in his darkest hour. "We're just so proud of him," he said, showing the sportsmanship and humility that contrasted so sharply with the devastation of his own performance. While many might wonder whether this loss tarnishes the quad god legacy, in truth, it could mark a pivotal moment in Malinin's career. For the past 2 years, he had been treated as nearly untouchable, but this defeat may be exactly the crucible he needs to evolve, learn, and return stronger than ever. For years, Ilia Malinin had been seen as a technical outlier, a jumping machine with seemingly no soul. By faltering on the world's biggest stage and showing his vulnerability, he humanized himself to a global audience. He did not quit. Even after the second fall, even after the popped axle, he pressed on, landing a quad-toe triple-toe combination in the final seconds purely out of pride. In that moment, he proved he could take the hardest punch of his life and still strike a final pose. The figure skating world had opened up again. The era of Malinin's technical inevitability was over, promising that the 2027 World Championships and the road to the next Olympics would be more competitive than ever. Ilia now knows that math alone cannot save you if the mind isn't right. He has already vowed to return. "I'm trying to understand what happened specifically, but I know that it's done. I can't change the outcome. I just have to grow from it," he said. At 21, he remains the architect of the technical revolution, but he leaves Milan as a man who understands that gold isn't guaranteed by the number of rotations in the air, it is earned in the silent battle of the arena. Success in 2026 didn't look like a medal, it looked like the tears in the mixed zone, the handshake he offered to Mikhail Shidurov, and the realization that being the greatest is a journey, not a destination. He came to Milan to be a god. He left as something far more powerful, a human being who has felt the weight of the world, fallen, and found the strength to rise again. The record books will show that Shidorov won gold and that Malinin finished 8th, but the story people will tell for decades is the night the quad god revealed he had a heart. Ilia Malinin didn't get his individual gold, but in his failure, he gave the sport something it desperately needed, a reminder that the Olympics aren't a math equation, they are a heartbeat. The Lost Crown program may be over, but the quad god is far from finished. Milan is quiet now, the ice being resurfaced, and somewhere, Ilia Malinin is already thinking about the next jump.